Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Persona 3 Portable, the re-release. The first in the modern Persona games, Persona 3 Portable is a streamlined version of the original Persona 3 release. Is this game still worth diving into? Persona 3 Portable is available on Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and the PlayStation Portable, of course, where it is priced at $20. And while this game is long, it's not quite as long as the other modern Persona games, somewhere between 60 to 100 hours long. So what exactly is Persona 3 Portable? Well, it's a port of the PSP version of Persona 3, which in turn was a portable version of Persona 3 Fez, which in turn was an enhanced version of Persona 3. Is this confusing? I'm confused. Is Persona 3 just bite-sized but now on consoles? Does that clear things up? Not really. Yeah, I'll explain it as we go. Mankind is being plagued by some unknown supernatural event called the Dark Hour, a time after midnight where the world is taken over by shadow and a massive tower dubbed Tartarus appears full of shadow monsters. You play as a newly transferred student who is quickly recruited by C's, a group of high school students tasked with climbing the tower to try and uncover the secrets of the Dark Hour and how to put an end to it. You'll be aided by your personas, which are summoned by, get this, pointing a spirit gun called an evoker at your head and pulling the trigger. Yeah, a shocking visual, but one that ties strongly into the game's overarching themes. Persona 3 is about existentialism, particularly the fear of the inevitability of death, and both the things we do and the futility of those actions to prevent one's own extinction. The act of shooting oneself with an evoker to unlock your true potential links to facing and defeating death to become stronger, a theme that resonates across almost all the characters in how will they do or do not accept this inevitability. Gameplay-wise, I covered in detail in Persona 5 review, which was very long, so I'm going to give the short version here. Your time is split between social activities, which, as your friendships increase, power up tarot affiliations that will power up your personas. Personas are basically Pokemon that you take into Tartarus to fight with you, and getting more of these and fusing them to create new ones is the key to success. In Persona 3, leveling personas will also grant skill cards, which will allow you to bestow personas with specific abilities, making it a little easier to create that perfect one. Tartarus is just one continuous dungeon, unlike later games that try to spice this up, but there are set plot events that have new areas to engage with on a temporary basis, usually in the form of a boss every full moon. But most of your nightly antics will be seeing how high you can get before you run out of supplies, with checkpoints along the way allowing you to start further up next time. Battles are turn-based and focus on exploiting weakness to knock down enemies while not being exploited yourself. Do well in the battle and you'll be rewarded with shuffle time, a minigame that can reward you with more XP, money, or most importantly, new personas. There's definitely more to Persona 3, but I've got to keep this short somehow. So, needless to say, Persona 3 Portable set the framework for what would become the modern Persona games, a mix of JRPG and time management that remains as addicting as ever. So what do I like about Persona 3 Portable? Well, again, that loop is very addicting, just as addicting as successors, with balancing social activities, dungeon diving, and persona collecting remaining engaging throughout. Additionally, Persona 3 Portable allows you to play through the entire game as either a male or female protagonist, and the female protagonist has her own set of better social links, music, and so on. It's a fantastic inclusion that really deepens the story and characters. And lastly, this is probably my personal favorite story thematically out of the Persona games. It's just rich with existential dread that permeates the game's atmosphere. When it comes to the bad, the PSP version removes most of the open world navigation and replaces it with visual novel style point-and-click stuff. This isn't awful, but it definitely makes the game feel less immersive since you don't actually traverse these locations, except Tartarus. And speaking of Tartarus, it as a single dungeon isn't super interesting, with most floors being just different coats of paint. And lastly, this game is really starting to feel its age, with older character models, some weird UI UX stuff, the best social links gated by stats early on. This port in particular feels kinda lazy, as Atlas probably could have incorporated more of the stuff from Fez back into this portable version to make it the definitive edition, and they just didn't do it. It's a straight port with mild HD upscaling. As you know, I rate games on a 3-point scale, must play, maybe consider, don't bother. In its current state, I still think Persona 3 Portable is worth playing. It definitely feels stripped down and much more basic when compared to its bombastic younger siblings, particularly Persona 5, but it still provides an excellent JRPG experience paired with a social life manager. So if you enjoy those things, make sure you check this one out. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think of Persona 3 in the comments and go out there and give it a look.